Hi, I'm Bonnie Barker with BonnieBabeCrochet.com, and I want to welcome you to the video that's going to show you how to make the Easy Breezy Beginner's Crochet Beanie. For this project, I'm going to recommend that you have at least 200 yards of your favorite worsted weight yarn. That could be Caron yarn, it could be Red Heart, Super Saver, it can be any kind of wool that you might have, but you're going to need worsted weight. And I'm going to recommend a size I or 9 or 5.50 crochet hook. I'm also going to recommend that you have a pair of scissors close by, a yarn needle for hiding loose ends, and should you decide to do the optional add the fuzzy pom-pom, again, this is optional. You don't have to run out and buy this or anything. If you do decide to add this, the kind I'm using requires that you add a button to the inside of the hat. It won't matter really what this button looks like as long as it's small, because it is going to be hidden. And you're going to need a needle and some sewing thread in order to connect that to the inside of the hat. Before we begin the hat, I wanted to show you another hat that I made is similar to the one that we're going to be making today. And I'm going to show you a technique that will eliminate this line. Do you see this line? This is the line where each round was joined with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round, which is a normal way of joining. And there's no problem with using this method. But the method that I'm going to show you is going to use a continuous crochet method where you do not join, and there will not be a line like this. Now, in order for that to happen, you're going to need to also add one more thing to that list, and that is a stitch marker. It can be any kind of a stitch marker. It doesn't have to be even something that you purchase like this. It can actually be even just a piece of yarn that's a contrasting color, just a way to mark the very first stitch of your rounds so that you can keep track of these stitches. Okay, let's go ahead and start. To begin, we're going to start with a slip knot. And I'm going to do this very slowly because some of you out there might be true beginners and I don't want to go too fast. Okay, for this slip knot, we're going to take our hook and push forward and do a little twist like this. And then the yarn that's attached to the ball or to the skein, we're going to take that and pull that through just like that. Now, if you need more time for how to make a slip knot, I do have specific videos on my Bonnie Babe Crochet channel. Just look for Beginner's Corner and the video list will be there for you. Now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now that we have 4 chains, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first chain, which is right here. We're just going to stick the hook through the loop like this, and then pull the yarn through, and then pull the yarn through again. And here you have like a little Cheerio. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we are going to work double crochets. Again, if you need an extra video on how to make double crochets, I do have videos that go over that in great detail. I'm going to go a little fast on this one. Okay, for the double crochet, we wrap our hook, and all these stitches that we're going to do for this round are going to go right into that center of the little Cheerio or little donut there. And we pull up a loop like we just did here, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. We're going to do that a total of 11 times. Wrap the hook, insert the hook, pull up a loop. So you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Wrap the hook, insert into that same hole again, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So I'm going to have you go ahead and do this until you have 11 double crochets plus the turning chain. Now we're ready to begin round 2. Now, as we make each first stitch of the round, I'm going to ask you to get out your stitch marker and mark that first stitch of the round just so that we can keep track of the beginning. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and work 2 double crochets in this top of the chain 3. 1, a little tight there, 2. Now the first stitch of this round was right there, and I'm going to go ahead and mark that stitch because there's no way in the world I'm going to remember this as we go round and round. Okay, now we're going to actually work 2 double crochets in each stitch until we get to this stitch marker. Once we get to this stitch marker, we're not going to put any stitches here until we read the directions for the next row, or round rather. Okay, so we're going to do 2 stitches in each stitch. And by the way, if you need the written pattern, and if you're a very basic beginner, I highly recommend that you start reading the patterns right away. You'll find that it's not as hard as some people think, or you may have heard people a little afraid of learning how to read. Honestly, if you can read the messages on your cell phone, especially in the text messages with all the abbreviations, the abbreviations for these crochet patterns are actually, in my opinion, easier, and they're definitely shorter. So, for example, for the double crochets that we are doing here, the abbreviation is simply DC, double crochet. For single crochets, it's SC, for single crochet, just taking the first letter of each word. Okay, so if you look down in the video description, I'll have a link there where you can download this pattern for free on my Ravelry page, which is online. Okay, so now I am still working 2 double crochets in each stitch. Now I've come to my stitch marker, which means that I have finished this round. So if you count from this point all the way to this point, if you did this correctly and put 2 double crochets in each stitch, you should have 24 double crochets for this round. Okay, now let's look at round 3. Round 3, we're going to put 1 double crochet in that first stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and do this right away. And I'm going to move my stitch marker. It's going to be very important. Now the rest of this for round 3, we're going to do 2 in the next stitch, and that's going to be our repeat. Whenever you see information inside brackets in a pattern, that's usually what you're going to repeat over and over again, and that is the case in this pattern. So this is the repeat all the way around. 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 2 double crochets in the next stitch. We're just going to alternate that. I'll do that a few times with you. 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and 2 double crochets in that next stitch. 1 double crochet, whoops, if I can get the yarn to hook, 1 double crochet in that next stitch, and then 2 double crochets in the next stitch. So go ahead and work that all the way around until you get to the stitch right here before that stitch marker. At the end of round 3, if you start by counting the first stitch and counting all the way around to the last stitch here, you should have 36 stitches. Okay, now we're ready to go to round 4. And round 4 says 2 double crochets in the next stitch. So in the first stitch, we're going to put 2 stitches, but before I put that second stitch in, I'm going to go ahead and move my stitch marker up to that first stitch of the round. The reason I'm doing this is if I don't do it right away, I'll forget to do it, and then I will lose track of where I am in the pattern and, the rest of the story there. Okay, so I have 2 stitches in that first stitch, and then 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So 1 double crochet, and then 1 double crochet. And that's the information inside those brackets on the pattern, which means that's what we're going to repeat again and again. So let's do it a couple more times. 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So you see how we are just using really a mathematical equation here to gradually increase. 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet in the next 2. So double crochet and then double crochet. So go ahead and repeat that all the way around. At the end of round 4, this is what you should have. And if you count from where the stitch marker is all the way around to the last stitches that we worked of this round, you should have 48 stitches. Now we're ready to move to round number 5, and this is actually going to be our last increase round. We're going to work 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So let's go ahead and do that first stitch. Let's pause and move that stitch marker. I know this seems like a little bit of a hassle and a time consuming, but let me tell you, it's a lot easier to do that over a few seconds than to spend, countless minutes just trying to figure out where I am and how many stitches I need to go. So let's go ahead and read that pattern again. 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. That's 1. And then 1 in the next stitch. Now this is the information that I'm going to read inside the brackets. 2 double crochets in the next stitch and then 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So we're going to work 2 double crochets in the next stitch. And now 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3. Let me show you that repeat. So we have 2 double crochets in the next stitch, then 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. So let's do that again. 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 in the next 3. 1, 1, and then 1. I'll do it one more time. 2 double crochets in the next stitch. Whoops, if I can get my strands to stay, there we go. And then 1 in the next 3. 1, and then 1, and then 1. Let's take a look at that. So go ahead and work that all the way around until you get to the stitch right before that stitch marker. Now after we've worked that all the way around, we still have 2 stitches left. So go ahead and put 1, 2 double crochets in that next stitch, and then 1 double crochet in that last stitch of the round. Okay, so let me just look at that again. So after that last repeat of the 2 double crochets and then 1 in the next 3, then put a 2 double crochets in that next stitch and then a double crochet in the last stitch. Okay, now we are ready to begin round 6, and how many times you repeat round 6 will be determined by how large and how long you want this hat to be. So I'm going to go ahead and start round 6. We're going to put a double crochet in that first stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and move my marker up, and I am just going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So from this point on, we are going to work around and around, only putting 1 stitch in each stitch, 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. Now if you find that the outer portion is growing still, if you're adding stitches, then that's going to be a problem. Make sure when you end each round, and this is where the stitch marker is going to help. When you count, starting with the first stitch, count all the way around until the last stitch that you're going to work here. You should have 60 stitches in each round. It's really important. If you find that your hat is growing, if it's still adding stitches each round, then you're putting too many stitches in one place. Okay, now if you find that the hat is just really caving in on you, it's probably because you're skipping stitches. So you want to be careful that you do work 1 double crochet in each stitch around. Now what's going to happen is after you work a couple rounds, this is actually going to curve around, and I'll show you what that will look like. So I want you to go ahead and do the next 3 rounds. This is going to be round 6, 7, and 8. After finishing 3 more rounds, I want you to see how the hat has taken on like a bowl shape. Okay, that's what should be happening right now. Now, if your hat is still lying flat after those last 3 rows of working 60 stitches around, then you're probably adding stitches, and you're going to want to make sure as you go around that you just have 1 stitch in each stitch around. Okay, now I'm just going to continue working just like I did. I'm going to keep on moving my stitch marker up, just like so. And I want you to make this beanie as long as you'd like it till it's about 1 inch from where you want to stop. Now, how do you know when you are at that point? Well, let me get a tape measure. And most hats, if you measure from the center where we started and go straight down, most hats are around between 8 and 9 inches. Some shorter if you like them shorter. Now, if you wanted to make a slouchy beanie, you know, where it kind of the extra material hangs over on the end on your head, it doesn't, you know, fit your head tightly, you may want to go, I don't know, to 12 inches or so until we do our next step. But if you want to just do a regular beanie, I would go to at least 7 to 8 inches before we do the next part. Okay, and then I will show you how to finish it. So go ahead, and we're just working around and round like we've been doing, with just 1 double crochet in each stitch around, and again moving that stitch marker as we go. I've just completed through round number 13, and I think I like the way the hat is turning out. It's approximately 8 inches, give or take a little bit, from the very center of the hat to the bottom. And one thing I like to do when I'm making hats, if I'm making adult hats, I like to try them on my own head and just kind of feel where they come around my ears. And I kind of use that to kind of guesstimate, if that's a word, how much further. So if your gauge is like my gauge, you would need 13 rounds. Now, if you don't want it as big as mine, that's fine. You can have fewer rounds in your hat. That's one thing I love about this design is you can make it the way you want, whether it be for a youth or for an adult. Now, the youth numbers are not, I didn't give those to you, but I will include those in that written free pattern that you can download from my site. Okay, now we're ready to make the ribbing around the bottom of this beanie. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to discontinue working continually in the round without a join, and I'm going to go ahead and make a join right here where that stitch marker is with a slip stitch, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and take my stitch marker out because honestly I don't need it at this point. And I want you to chain 2, 1, 2. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do something called front post and back post double crochet. If you've never done this before, it's okay. You don't need to be afraid of it. Now, if after watching me do this and you don't like the front post and back post ribbing, what you can do is just continue what you were doing with just the continual rounds and do about 2 more, and then you can go ahead and fasten off like what I just did here. If you decide to not do what I'm going to do, you can just do what I did, a slip stitch right here. And to fasten off, you would do a chain, pull it through and pull it real tight, and then cut the yarn here and then pull it through. Okay, well, I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to add ribbing. So we're going to chain 2, and for the front post, instead of working through the top loops like that, we're going to give the stitch a belt by bringing the hook around the hook like this, and then we pull up a loop just like we normally would for a double crochet. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's a front post double crochet. The pattern that I'm going to show you alternates between a front post and a back post, and that's how you get the ribbing effect. And for a back post, you wrap the hook, come in through the back door, and it's like you tie the belt in the back. Come around the whole stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's a back post. So we're going to alternate between front post, going in the front and completing the stitch, and the back post coming in the back door and around the front of the stitch there. Front post double crochet. And by the way, this is one of the longer abbreviations in crochet lingo. It's abbreviated FPDC. So the DC you know from double crochet. FP stands for front post. And then we do a back post. Again, the back post is abbreviated BPDC for BP for back post and DC as in double crochet. So we're just going to alternate front post double crochet and then back post double crochet. We're going to alternate that all the way around. The first of the ribbing round ends with a back post double crochet. Let's go ahead and get all the loops through. There we go. And then join with a slip stitch to the first front post double crochet of the round. And this is what that stitch should look like. For the second round of the ribbing, we're going to chain 2 and we're going to work it just like the first round, except this is going to be easier for you to see where the front post and the back post. So front post over that front post double crochet, and then we're going to back post over the back post double crochet. Front post and then back post. And now that I've done that much, you can see how the ribbings are making these lines. Now, depending on the yarn you're using, your crochet style, you may want to do just one more round, or you may want to do 2 more rounds. I'm going to finish this round and then give the hat a try and see what I think. Okay, after giving this hat a try on my head, I like the way it fits, just the way it is. So I'm going to go ahead and fasten off at the end of this second round of the ribbing with a slip stitch in that first stitch of the round. Go ahead and give it a chain and a tug and get my scissors out. I'm going to leave a nice long 5 or 6 inch strand here so that we can hide that right now. Let me show you what we have. Okay, this is my beanie. I'm not done yet though. Let me give you a little quick tutorial here on how to hide this loose strand. Take my yarn needle. I'm going to go ahead and thread that yarn right in there. And you're going to want to hide this on the back side. So I'm going to just go down into the stitches just like this. Okay. That should be good. I'm going to pull it down, give it a little tug there, and I'm going to work it a little bit back up just to give it a little resistance from pulling out. Okay, and that should be good. And I'm going to give it a little clip. Make sure you clip only the thread and you don't get so close that you actually clip the crocheting there. You don't want to damage your work in any way, shape, or form. Now, I am not quite done because I am going to add the pom-pom to this hat. In order to do that, I'm going to turn it inside out, just like this. Okay, I have my small little button, which I'm going to position just off center of the hole. So here's the middle where we started. I'm going to just sew it just off center here, and I've already got my thread ready to go. So let me give a quick So I'm going to go ahead. I'll go ahead and finish sewing this button right in place, and then I'll show you how to connect the pom-pom. Now that I finished sewing the button on, I'm going to show you the pom-pom. And the particular ones that I have a little if I can find it here, let me get my crochet hook. They have this little elastic loop Okay, now some people may want to just sew the loop directly onto the hat, but I want to warn against such furry pom-poms being sewn to the top, because in the event that you want to wash the hat, a lot of times these pom-poms don't do so well going through the washer and dryer. So with what I'm showing you, you can actually take this pom-pom off. So if we put it on the inside of the hat, I'm going to put my hook through, and I'm going to use it to grab the little elastic. And I'll show you how I do this. I'm going to actually loop it on. Okay, loop it onto the button. Now this is going to be a little tough because it's a very tiny. There we go. Right, I like that. So if you want to wash it, you just pull. You can just get your crochet hook and just pull. Well, pull that loop off. But now that finishes our hat. And there we go. Well, this ends our tutorial for the Easy Breezy Crochet Beanie. If you enjoyed this, I have many more tutorials coming your way. All you need to do is hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you won't miss anything. God bless. Bye-bye.